Hi, it's Anita from Daydreams of Quilts. Today I want to show you how to do counted cross stitch because it's actually pretty easy to learn, and I can show you how to do it in this video in just a few minutes. So let's get started. I'm working on the summer sampler from the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and this is what I've got done so far. So what you're going to need is a pattern, and your pattern will tell you what size of Aida cloth to get, and this is Aida cloth. And it will tell you what colors of floss to buy. And sometimes when I go to the store like Michael's, they don't have the exact color number that I need, so I have to sort of find the closest match. So don't worry if you can't find the exact floss, but try to get as close to the colors that they're telling you to purchase as you can. Then you want to tape off your raw edges of your Aida cloth with masking tape. I used to put my projects in a hoop to stitch, but I would always grab the hoop in the same place with my hand, and over time the oils from my hand would get onto the Aida cloth and stain it, and I actually couldn't get the marks out even with detergent. So I don't put mine in a hoop anymore. I just use it like the way it is with the edges taped off. So then what you need to do is find the center of your cloth by folding it in half and then folding it in half again, and then I just mark the center with my needle until I'm ready to start stitching. And like if I had these edges lined up, you would see that this is actually the center. Then you want to take a look at your pattern, which will have markings to show you how to get to the center. There's usually arrows on the top and bottom and the sides. This one doesn't have it on the sides, but they also have some red, very hard to see, but red lines that meet up in the center. So if you follow either the arrows or the lines, you can figure out right where the center of your pattern is, and that's usually where you want to start stitching. Now this project was a stitch along, so they were releasing parts of it every week, and so the first part was to stitch the frames for each box. So you would still do the same thing, find the center, but instead of stitching the little camper van that was there, I just counted from the center to the frame and started stitching that. So I would have counted how many squares from where those red lines meet up to here, and I would have started stitching here and just stitch the frame. But normally you just start right in the middle and you just figure out what color that symbol stands for and you start stitching. So for my next block, I'm working on the little s'more. So the symbol for the s'more looks like a bullet point. So then you go and you look at your symbol, your color key, and there's a bullet point there, and it says DMC 435 brown, very light. So that is the color of thread that I want to put on my needle for the next part of my project. But you would just take a look at what was at that center point and then look at your color key and figure it out. Now floss comes with 6 strands all together, so you need to separate those strands. Some people separate all 6 and then they put 2 together, which I think is probably the proper way to do it. I just take 2 off and leave the other 4 together so I don't lose them. Then you want to thread your needle, and of course, because I'm doing this on camera, I cannot thread the needle. There we go. So you have 2 strands on your needle, and you want to start at the back. Now if you were just starting with your very first stitch, you would have to try to hold it with your thumb or fingers and then stitch over it. But I've already got some stitches in, so I can just weave my floss in a little bit on the back and then turn to the front and start stitching. So I'm going to be, let's see, and you need to count your squares. So from the 8, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 empty squares, and then I start stitching with the very light brown. So one, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in counter cross stitch, you want to have everything going in the same direction, like all the stitches going in the same direction. So you would go all of your stitches, the first part of the X would be going from right to left, for example, and then the second part would be going from left to right. So you would want to have all the underneath part going this way and all the upper part going this way, so that they all lie the same way on the fabric. But it's a very simple stitch. You just come up in these corner holes and then go back down, and it's not hard to do the stitching, that's for sure. So yeah, you would want to have everything going in the same direction. And then if there's another color that comes up, like in this s'more, there's going to be a different color right here. So then I would skip that square and keep going to the end. And I would finish all of these brown, and then I'd go back in and do this other color, which is tan. So it's kind of like knitting patterns, I think, too. Knitting patterns kind of work the same way with symbols for different colors. So you just keep working out from the center, or in my case, because I've done these frames, I can pick which frame I want to work on, because I can just count off of the frame. And just keep going until you get to the end. So I hope that helps. Happy cross stitching!